Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Gateway to Homeworld. Oh yeah. Let's see. We are on the bridge of the Hichi ship. It is time to take it home. Let's see, what do we have here? Look at console. You examine the console, you see a control panel and course selection system that you recognize from your old adventures as a gateway prospector. Course codes consist of 4 Hichi number symbols, identify pre-programmed destinations. You can enter a course code using the 4 little window displays, and then engage the FTL engines by pressing the large Go button in the upper right-hand corner of the panel. Okay, I totally don't remember what is the number for Earth. But I don't have to, because I can look at paper. So that's the first obelisk. Okay, so there's kind of a curve to the left, then a parallel thingy, and then a small duck, and then a curve to the right. Let's see if I can remember that. Okay, look at console again. Is that in here? Curve? No, it isn't. Okay, well, we can type it in. Curve to the left. Parallel thingy. Duck. Curve to the right. Go! The ship trembles as the star drive powers up and launches the 3-million-ton vessel into Tau space. During the short voyage home, you and Diana collect all of the objects and artifacts you discovered during the adventures on the ship. You create a pile of the objects on the floor of the bridge. The only device that you keep with you are the tuning fork and the crystal rod, both of which you plan to use to further explore the ship. I haven't actually used the tuning fork at all at this point. But hey, if he thinks he can use it to explore the ship, so be it. Hello, Earth. Eventually, the gigantic ship comes out of Tau space between Earth and the Moon. When you and Diana see the luminescent blue and white crescent of your home world beyond the bridge view screens, you hold each other briefly, and Diana cries a little, "I never expected to see it again," she murmurs softly. Then the moment passes and it's time to get to work. After several hours spent repairing, cursing, cajoling, and coaxing the radios on the wrecked probe ship, you managed to establish communications with Romeo Delta 1, the Gateway Corporation base in Florida. Probably NASA headquarters. You talk to the mission specialist on duty for a few minutes, then he patches you through to the senior corporation executive who called you in your condo so long ago. The executive listens carefully as you describe your adventures from the moment he made the fateful call until your arrival near Earth aboard the huge artifact. He grills you about the zoos, the oldest one, and the ship's capabilities. Finally, the questions stop. "Good work," he says with obvious gratitude in his voice. "The UN will have to decide on how to handle the matter from here on. Given that you have food and water aboard the ship, I'm going to ask you to sit tight until they figure out what to do with the ship. Now that the threat of assassins has gone away, this will become a political football. We will advise you before a ship heads out your way. Thank you again, Earth out." The communication terminates. A few seconds later, the radio speaker begins to emit a strange pulsing whine. Suspicious, you attempt to recontact Romeo Delta 1. You can't make contact. It's almost as if your transmissions are being jammed. "Raspberry. Only one man dares give me the raspberry. Lone Star." You and Diana wait. A day passes and still you are not able to re-establish contact. Just when you are about to give up, the radio crackles with a crisp voice transmission. "Artifact, do you read? This is General Carey of the UNSS. This is urgent." You acknowledge Carey's transmission. He continues, "Thank God I got to you. Listen up. The Phoenix Sec has been jamming your radio and we've only just managed to break through. While the UN was jawboning, the sect launched 3 Marauder-class exo-atmospheric interceptors. They are on their way to the artifact. On board are teams of Phoenix Sect commandos. They intend to take over the artifact. Once on board, they plan to program the ship with the location of the assassin's hiding place. Yes, the sect somehow got a hold of the most sensitive Gateway Corporation data and learned where the assassins live. Gateway Corporation scientists found the location about a year ago. It is an ultra-massive black hole located at the edge of the Milky Way. The Hichi had hazard symbols plastered all over the thing on their star maps. It was actually pretty obvious once you knew what to look for. The Corporation eggheads call the assassin's black hole the Kugelblitz. Don't ask me why. Anyway, the sect intends to fly the artifact to the Kugelblitz and alert the assassins to the existence of humanity. They want to bring the assassins back with them and cleanse the Earth, just like they've been preaching for years. You must stop them. Keep them from boarding. Don't let them steal the ship. This could be the end. The assassins will come after us when they discover the artifact. I recommend that you hide away on the ship and sabotage it somehow. The trip to Kugelblitz will take several days. You have some time. The transmission is interrupted by the pulsing whine. Then a new voice speaks, a cold and sardonic voice. Sorry, Carrie was too late after all. We're boarding your lovely ship already. You'll be coming with us, but with a slight change in your status, from alive to dead. That's so corny. You feel the faint thump of a ship docking. You and Diana leap to your feet and bolt from the probe ship. Split up, you yell as you run through the cargo bay. You toss her the crystal rod and she heads off into the northwest corner towards Suze. You run down the central corridor and veer off into a part of the ship you hadn't explored yet. Shots ring out behind you. You duck into a room and lean up against the wall. Panting from lack of breath, you take quick stock of your surroundings. It's a cavernous room filled with pod-like sarcophagi. Each pod has a locked access door, a keypad, and a set of Hichi symbols engraved on the outside. They look like armored versions of the cryosleep capsule in your probe ship. You get glimmerings of an idea. Perhaps you can hide. As you study one of the pods, you feel the queasy lurch that announces a Tau space jump. The ship is on its way to Kugelblitz. You shake your head, ignoring the large implications of the fact. You focus on the task at hand. You enter the symbols engraved on one of the capsules into the corresponding keypad. You feel a fierce exhilaration as the access door hisses open. You aren't dead yet. You climb into the pod. The access door closes behind you as you squeeze into the claustrophobic space. You take a deep breath. The ship is a big place, and although the terrorists outnumber you, at least you've bought enough time to hatch a plan. You're just starting to relax when the pod begins to move. You hear the grinding of an ancient mechanism and the laboring of pumps. No, it can't be! You begin scrabbling at the access door, but it's too late. The pod drops free of the artifact through massive airlock doors. You have inadvertently discovered and activated one of the artifact's FTL lightboat escape pods. Jeez, even the escape pods are faster than light. Or for the lose. Oh, there's me. Zoom. Well, that didn't go as planned. The pod drops out of Tau space for a moment, reorients, then launches back into FTL. After a journey of several hours, you hear the thump of maneuvering thrusters, and then the scream of re-entry through an atmosphere. You're landing. Seconds later, the pod hits the surface of the planet with a bone-jarring impact. The access door opens. Part 3. Rescue. Oh my. Your score has gone up by 40. Landing site. Pale sunlight falls from an overcast sky onto a carpet of ice. The flat surface extends to the horizon and is broken only by the scar of the escape ship's impact. The ship is here and remains embedded a few meters in the torn ice. Natural paths wind away to the north, east, and west. Beyond an access panel in the ship's hull, you see the ship's drive mechanism. A squat round metal clamp lies nearby, thrown from the escape ship upon its landing. You see a compass here. Well, not the best landing and not the best place to land on. Let's see what we can take. Let's take the compass because it sticks out like a sore thumb. You take the compass. Your score has gone up by 5. And let's take the drive. No. Wait, the drive mechanism? No, the clamp. My score has also gone up by 5. Look at drive. You peer inside the access panel of the drive mechanism. Generally, Heechee machinery is beyond you. This is no exception. It doesn't seem to have any moving parts nor anything removable. Look at compass. It's a small Heechee-made electronic instrument that must have fallen from your escape ship when you exited. A glowing arrow points to the north. Look at hatch. Hatch is constructed of an opaque obsidian material. It's currently open. You see a keypad lock at the base. Look at code. You see the telltale Heechee symbols at the bottom of the escape ship. The code is the same one you punched into the keypad when you escaped from the artifact. Look at path. Natural paths wind off in various directions. You catch a flash of reflected sunlight in the corner of your eye. Turning towards you, you discover a strangely shaped ice formation. When it moves, however, you realize the formation is not ice, but something quite alive. Crystalline, but organic nonetheless. The thing reminds you of a spinal cord, ripped from the vertebrae's back and set into motion like a reared-up snake. Tiny arcs of electricity course through its body, and sparks fly into the air. It slides gracefully over the frozen ground on a myriad of tiny appendages, closing the distance between you. It stops and tilts its flat head-like appendage towards you. Sunlight filters through the crystal plate and dances on the surface. The light separates into a spectrum of colors, like a prism, but then resolves into pictures, moving pictures. Somehow, the alien is harnessing the surrounding light to display a tiny scene. You recognize the picture as the place where you stand, sans your escape ship. Suddenly, you see your ship streak out of the sky and crash into the ice. Crunch. In the scene, the hatch opens and you step out. It seems that what the creature is depicting are the events that have just occurred. And that's me! And I'm posing! The alien enters the scene. He shows you the tiny image in his head appendage, and then leaves. You follow along. These events obviously have not yet happened, so you surmise that this creature is depicting the actions that it would like to see you perform. Okay, I guess I could follow you. The pictures fade into a meaningless jumble of light and color. When they're gone, the creature tilts its head and pauses, as if waiting for you to do something. After a few moments, it straightens up and slides away to the east. Well, let's follow it then. East. Ice plains. You stand in a stark, open, ice-covered plain. Around this area, a few projections of ice poke out of the ground, but generally the level scenery remains undisturbed. In the distance, you see ice mountains that catch the shimmering sunlight. Natural paths wind towards the north and west. The crystalline creature notices that you are following. It waits for you to catch up, then it moves off towards the north. Okay. Ice plain. Stark, open, ice-covered plain. Areas, few projections posted on the ground. But generally level scenery. See ice mountains, northeast, south, and west. Crystalline creatures notice that you're following. It waits for you to catch up, then moves off to the east. Village! You are standing in the center of a bustling village where the shelters seem to have been carved directly out of the native ice. The largest of these shelters lies to the south. To the east, a fissure splits the ground and a ramp slopes down into it. You can also see an open area filled with ice sculptures off to the southeast. After staring at the creatures for a time, their similarity to spinal cords becomes increasingly pronounced. Because of this, you decide to call them cords. A smaller cord, apparently a child, approaches an elder and displays a fuzzy picture of a stick in its head. A bud pops out of the larger cord's spindly body. This bud slowly lengthens to a shape very similar to the stick, then drops off. The child forms two small pincers. It uses them to grab the stick that the elder has made. Then it slithers to one side, happily banging the stick along the ground. Your guide awaits you outside the large building to the south. When you walk into the village, it slides inside. Well, might as well keep following it. South. Large dwelling. Other than its inhabitants, the interior of the shelter is completely empty. The walls slope inward and come to a point at the ceiling, much like a tent. They are smooth as glass and show no chips or scratches where they were carved from the ice. A very old cord is resting against the south wall. Your guide sits in front of it, as an alkalite would sit before his holy master. You see your guide picking quick-moving images to the old cord. The pictures in its head show your ship's arrival, followed by your encounter with the guide. The other cord, motionless up to this time, slowly rises and approaches you. Images flicker and flash randomly in the old one's head. Then the shapes and colors settle down and begin to tell a story. A Hichi escape ship, very much like yours, plummets out of the sky, trailing fuel. Upon impact with the icy surface, the fuel catches on fire and explodes. The blast creates an enormous crater, hundreds of meters in diameter. Boom! Over time, an ice glacier reclaims the crater. It slowly crawls over the entire area, completely hiding the ship. Sometime later, a great tremor fractures the glacier. A crack spirals outward from the center. Aftershocks widen the crack and create others. Soon, a maze of passages riddles the glacier. A party of cords enter the maze of passages. As they hike along, they pause at every intersection. One of them drops a ball, and they watch to see which exit it rolls towards. Each time they follow this path. Eventually they arrive at the center and find the escape ship buried under the tons of ice. The cords create cutting tools and, working tirelessly, excavate a pit around the ship. As the pit deepens, they build a ladder to help them enter and exit easily. The ship appears completely intact. They try to get inside but cannot seem to open the hatch. Eventually they abandon the attempt and prepare to leave. Before they go, one of the cords carves an exact likeness of the ship, including all symbols and markings. Carrying the carving before them, the cords wind their way back through the maze of passages and return to the village. Still can't read. Score has gone up by 10. The old cord moves away and settles against the south wall again. Its story done. Your guide slides out the door and back into the village. Okay, back into the village then. You see a child here. The child is holding a stick. Let's see if I can take his stick. Take stick. You reach for the stick, but the child whisks it away. It brings the stick back and wiggles it near your hand. When you grab at it, the tiny cord jerks it away again. Frustrated, you give up. I just got told by a little spine child. Let's go southeast. You stand in the garden of ice sculptures, each piece more beautiful than the last. The craftsmanship displayed here is unparalleled by anything you've seen on Earth. All of the statues look fragile, but some seem compact enough to lift. The garden is divided into two sections by a path that straggles from the northwest to the south. So it's down to the south. Workplace. A small cleared niche off. A niche of ice. This is a small cleared niche of the ice garden. Oddly shaped blocks of ice sit and await transformation into art. A cord sits here in front of a large unformed block, chipping away at it with a wicked-looking cutting tool. The creature appears to be the artist who created the ice masterpieces to the north. Let's take all. So lamprey carving taken, worm carving taken, ship carving taken, gem carving taken, bowl carving taken, cutter carving taken. Okay, let's go back to this guy. Let's ask him about each of these. Since they seem to be able to show us stories, maybe they can tell me the story of each item. Show cutter to artist. The artist stares at the carving of the cutting tool. A bud begins to form on his body, immediately under the cutter that he already wielded. As the bud grows, the cutter starts to come loose. Then it falls to the ground. You bend over, pick it up. As you do, the ice carving slips from your hand and shatters on the ground. The cord returns to work. Your score has gone up by 10. Well, I feel kind of bad about breaking his carving, but I got a real cutter out of it. Show bowl to artist. You hold the ice bowl up for the artist's inspection. The cord looks at the bowl, then retreats a couple of meters. Suddenly a bud erupts from his body. It grows and curves into an exact copy of the carving. You drop the ice bowl on the ground where it shatters. Then you take the crystal bowl that the card offers. Your score has gone up by 10. The artist takes a slice off the top of the block. Piece falls to the ground and shatters. Man, I keep breaking these guys' carvings. I feel like a jerk. Okay, show gem to artist. You hold the carving of rough crystal up for the artist's inspection. It stops its work and seems to ponder for a few moments, then starts to pick another story. Two cords are exploring a cliff face that is riddled with caves. They peer into many of the darkened caves and eventually enter one that is half hidden by great spikes of ice. They slide through the long cavern. The light from the outside becomes dimmer as they progress. Just as it seems that they are going to turn back because of the darkness, they spot a red glimmer coming from the innermost depths of the cave. They press on and come upon a lit area. The glow in the room comes from multiple veins of red crystal lining the walls. The crystal is studded with tiny gem-like projections. One of the explorers approaches the crystal, grows an appendage, and touches it. Instantly, the crystal attaches itself to the appendage. The cord struggles, but cannot free itself. The crystal seems to come alive. The throbbing red glow becomes brighter. Then the color begins to flow like blood into the cord. After a while, the cord stops struggling. It is now an extension of the red crystal lifeform that lines the walls. A few moments pass, then the lone cord turns and leaves the cave. Aww. So, red crystal. Bad for cords. As the story ends, the artist returns back to work, and my score has gone up by 10 again. Show lamprey to artiste. You hold up the carving in the lamprey. The artist stops suddenly and slowly starts to pick. In the scene, you see a cord collecting a white, grainy dust from the ground. One of the winged creatures suddenly swoops down out of the sky. Before the cord can react, the creature attaches itself to the cord's head appendage, and electricity immediately begins coursing up into the lamprey. The cord starts to thrash wildly, but after only a few horrible moments, it has been completely drained and falls to the ground lifeless. The artist gouges out a chunk from the center. Show ship carving. Oh, show ship to artist. The artist looks at the miniature ice escape ship. It quickly picks an image you recognize as the ancient cord, who pretty much explained all that stuff. Look at symbols. You see 5 Hichi symbols carved into the reproduction of the escape ship. You are familiar enough with Hichi numbers to recognize the sequence numerals to recognize the sequence numbers 24121. Your score has gone up by 5. The artist sidles back and stares at his work. If the sculpture is supposed to be of an ice block with a big chunk missing, then it's a masterpiece. Okay, show worm to artist. The artist tilts its head towards the worm carving, then back again. He either doesn't know what it is or has nothing to say about it. Okay. Northwest. Is there anyone else I can show the show worm to child. Core child seems thrilled at your action and stares intently at the worm carving. A small bud forms on its body. The bud slowly changes into something that looser resembles the worm carving, but the result is clearly a failure. The bud drops off and shatters on the ground. Then the child returns to its game. Show cutter to child, because I'm a jerk. My stick is now better than his. It pretty much does the same thing. Okay, let's go south and ask that guy about the show worm to elder. Or ancient. Ancient. The ancient settles in and begins another story. 4 cords sit around a shallow pit filled with white dust. 3 of them insert their tails into the dust and absorb a small quantity. The 4th merely waits. When the 3 have finished, they all leave. The cords arrive at a spring inhabited by a huge crystalline monster. A sheer cliff rises beyond the spring, and a rock bridge connects the near shore at the top of the cliff wall. The cord that did not eat any of the white dust steps onto the bridge. Suddenly, a crystalline tentacle whips out of the spring, wraps around the cord, draws it underneath the surface. A few moments of violent thrashing are followed by sudden stillness. Ah! The creature settles down to eat its meal, and the remaining cords race up the rock path. The beast pays no attention to them as it feasts on the self-sacrificing cord. Aww. The 3 cords enter a stone forest. Strange ice-covered rock formations poke out of the ground, and large worm-like creatures crawl aimlessly between them. The first cord produces a cutting tool. With it, he scrapes the ice from the face of the rocks. Instantly, one of the worm creatures attaches itself to the exposed stone surface and begins to chew its way through into the rock. After a few moments, a thick white dust starts to flow out of the worm's hind section. A dark-winged creature suddenly swoops down from the north. It dives towards the cords, talons outstretched. Immediately, the second cord produces a stick appendage, which it bangs against its crystal head. Something about this action causes the flying creature to veer off and fly away. The third cord manufactures a crystal bowl appendage. It scoops up as much of the white dust as it can. When the bowl is full, the party of cords leave. The cord leans back against the wall and rests. Huh. Let's see. What's east? Fissure. The cords have taken advantage of the natural fissure to create a meeting place. Many of the creatures are clustered around a pit, inside of which you see some white, grainy dust. The ramp leading out to the crevasse to the west is the only exit. Look at dust. Dust is white and sparkles in the sunlight. It appears to be made of rock, rather than ice. It is spread across the floor of the pit in a thin layer. Take dust. As you walk towards the pit, a cord moves to intercept you. It doesn't seem aggressive, but does block your forward progress. Irritated, you glare at the cord. In response, it picks a story. This seems like a story I've already seen. Maybe that's what they eat. Yes, we've seen all this. So, 3 guys eat. The 4th one doesn't because he's not going to live. It's creepy. Okay, there's nothing else here. North. You wander towards the ice structures, but find too small to accommodate you. Ask child for stick. Child tilts its head quizzically. It tenses and produces a quiet buzzing sound. You guess that it's as close to language as it's going to get. Show stick to elder. Aw. Look. Yeah, well, maybe I don't need the stick. You know what? It's been about 30 minutes. Let's just save here, and we'll explore the rest of this planet next time. LP7. Alright, hope you enjoyed it. A lot of exposition. Talk to y'all later. I'm playing a game!